We last left off on our next mission, where we were to accompany Rand and go to the wireless tower and get rid of the Pokemon pinchers that were there. We discovered there's agitated Pokemon that might try to knock us off the side of the building, but we make our way through the tower, cutting down some barricades, encountering pinchers, and Ukulele Pichu finds one of his friends from Dolce Island. We make our way across some electric pathway that I definitely don't get hurt on. Not at all. We catch some Pokemon and fall off the side of the tower. A lot. We then see a mysterious new character with blonde hair and a blue streak talking to some pinchers. Raichu suddenly jumps out and scares the pinchers away, trapping the blonde-haired girl. Raichu uses his electricity to destroy the tower, accidentally aiding the Pokemon pinchers in their task. So all communication to the Oblivia region is gone. Rand deduces that this mysterious lady is the leader of the pinchers. She tells us we're one step behind their plan and runs off on the little hover machine and leaves us to deal with an angry Raichu. Pichu tries to talk to Raichu and play the ukulele, but he's too angry and tries to shock him. So of course, we have to use our capture styler to capture Raichu. So this ends up being our first big boss battle. Raichu has a huge capture bar, so we have to do double the work since it's completely red. It was tough work, and I definitely almost died, but we conveyed our friendship to Raichu and he calmed down. At the end of the capture, a mysterious symbol appeared and I had to redraw it for the styler to remember, and it took a few tries, but I got it. Rand tells us he never seen the symbol that we did, but we make our way back to Leanne and Emma. Burkhardt appears and brings along two pinchers that were the ones that were the slowest runners, but they ran away, so that leaves Rand and us to catch them once again. We chase them and find another mysterious person. There ends up being quite a few of them, but this one has a red streak in his hair, and he is the one that originally shot us out of the sky at the beginning of the game. He tells us that Ben isn't dead, just tied up somewhere being useless, and he causes the bridge to explode so we can't chase them. So we end up heading back to Rand's house, where Leanne goes upstairs to research the symbol we seen with Raichu. So while we wait for her, we head back to Booker's house to ask him to rebuild the bridge for us. It is called Big Booker Bridge for a reason, so he speeds off to fix it. As we head back to Rand's, Celebi appears once again and takes us back in time. This time, we see two new characters, and they seem to be talking about how something seems to be wrong inside the temple in front of them. The lady turns around and spots us with Celebi. She says Ravio has been looking for him. We say her name and they tell us that Ravio has mentioned us before. They mention they don't have any time to waste and a lot of their Pokemon are acting very strange. They both came to the temple to consult with the oracles, but they won't let them in. They make Celebi send us back, but Celebi seems to be really panicked and scared. We come back to Pichu being super scared himself because he has no idea what happened to us and is relieved when we come back. We ended up coming back at the perfect time. Leanne is done with her research, so we go see what she discovered. We learned that the old hero of Oblivia used symbols like the one we seen to summon Pokemon to help. Basically, it's like the bat signal. The Pokemon just see it shining in the sky and they just show up. Pretty neat. However, we don't have the ability to do that, so Nema, being as smart as she is, comes to the rescue and upgrades our styler to have the function to use the symbols. We go outside and give it a try, and lo and behold, we're chilling on Raiku's back. We're so awesome. So we go on ahead and use Raichu, who's our new BFF, to jump over the holes in the bridge and chase after the pinchers. So we find ourselves on Matonga Island in Tilt Village, where we meet a familiar face. Murph from the Rangers Union. If you haven't played Pokemon Rangers Shadows of Almia, you would have seen Murph all throughout that game and learn about him. However, he is featured at the beginning of this game before you're sent off on your mission with Ben. He tells us Professor Hastings sent him here with a message telling us that the pinchers have been seen at libraries researching info on Oblivia's ancient legends. And there happens to be a special book in one of the Oblivia region's libraries that the pinchers don't seem to know about, so we need to get it first. The book is written by someone called Amun, who passed a long time ago but used to live on Matonga Island. And then Murph freaks out because we tell him that there is no communication and he can't contact anyone. We inform Murph that Ben was taken by the Pokemon pinchers, and Murph decides that Ben must be okay. and says we should look around the village for clues about the book we need to find. As we search the village, we encounter a little magic show performed by this guy named Hocus. Since we are new guests to the show, he decided to pick Pichu for his next trick and causes him to disappear. Oh no! Luckily, Dr. Edward comes into play with Pichu at his side. It's a bit of a weird encounter, but he gives his Pichu back and he continues on with his work healing the elderly. We talk to an old man that says Amun's house may or may not be to the north of the village and it may or may not be haunted. So we decide to check it out, being our only lead. Murph gets more and more scared as we get closer to the mansion, and when we encounter a locked gate, Murph decides he's a strong man and tries to knock it down, which doesn't go so well. Pichu tells us to go to the east and loop our way around. So we make our way around, avoiding dust clops all around, and we finally enter the haunted house of Amun's. We encounter some mischievous as soon as we enter, circle them with friendship, and continue searching the house. As we enter what looks like to be a dining room, Murph makes a joke about how this house can't really be that haunted, saying that if it was, these plates would be floating. And then they do just that. It scares Murph so much he runs for the hills and in the process falling through a giant hole in the floor. We continue our search through the house without Murph to discover this little library room with a mysterious door, and we can hear voices on the other side of it. When we open the door, there's Murph. We found him! Yay! We continue through the door and encounter some pinchers. They attack us with a bay leaf and a chikorita, but they were no match for us. We enter the room they fled into and find one of the leaders of the pinchers. She goes by the name Blue Eyes and has a super cool pose. She and her crew have yet to find the book we were looking for, so while they keep searching, she sends a Meganium at us. So this is our second boss fight. Meganium is no match for us and Ukulele Pichu. Pichu, being angry, jumped onto Blue Eyes and shocked her, leaving her super weak, so we're able to take her hostage for a change. And while we're chatting, Murph finds the book we were looking for. Go Murph! Murph takes her back to the ship where he came on, called the Union, and plans to interrogate her to find out whatever we can. While we leave Amun's house, Celebi appears once again, taking us into the past and leaving Ukulele Pichu behind. It makes me so sad. This time, Ravio, Kira, and Tanvir are in front of the temple. Celebi pulls us closer to the temple. He seems to be super worried about something. We discover Celebi seems to be worried about what's going on inside the temple. And at that time, the doors finally open. Out comes a steelhead, a temple oracle, and a Piplup, saying the oracles are the ones that are to control the world and everyone's supposed to listen to them. He sends the Piplup at us and we use the power of friendship to capture it super easy. Steelhead heads back into the temple and we realize Celebi's been trying to warn us this whole time. The wise woman beckons us to come see her and tells us that time flows only in a certain way. It's about time all this time traveling has some consequences. Ravio and his gang decide that they should be the ones to figure out the temple's problems in their time, and the wise woman informs us to not tell anyone about our time in the past because people might want to try to change the flow of time and make the world explode. So after that lesson, Celebi sends us back to our regular time. We make our way back to Rand's house to inform them everything that's been going on. We gave Leanne the book to decipher and we make our way back to Murph to question Blue Eyes. Suddenly, before we get onto the ship, the other leader of the pinchers shows up. And you'll never guess what he goes by. Red Eyes. Crazy, right? He proposes a deal to trade Blue Eyes for Ben, so of course, we say yes and go meet him in Daybreak Ruins. We make our way through the ruins, complete some puzzles, foil the pinchers' plans to steal their leader, and finally get to the end of the ruins for the trade. But there's no one there. Blue Eyes points out there's a stone monument just like the one we've seen for Raichu at the beginning of the game. Suddenly, a wild Entei pops out of nowhere. This is our third boss fight. We capture it successfully, barely. I really almost died this time. Shout out to our boy Ukulele Pichu, he was the best. Another symbol shows up and we enter that into our styler. It's about time Red Eyes finally shows up. We trade Blue Eyes off for Ben, and of course the pinchers try to explode us. But because of Plot Armor, we are unscathed. But we're stuck with no way out. So of course, this is where we can summon Entei, and we use him to break the rock so we can get back to Murph and Rand. We all meet up at Rand's house, have our introductions. Ben tells us he's left a locator at the pincher's base he was at so we can use the styler to find it. However, it's broken, so Nema goes ahead and fixes it. Ben Styler leads us to a cliff on the other side of Tilt Village. Through the cave, we find some pictures putting a major plan in motion, and they zoom off. At this point in the game, it gives us a 2-minute time limit to chase after the pinchers, so if we happen to fail, we'd have to restart at the beginning of the cave. Luckily, I'm a pro and get through the area with ease thanks to the help of Raichu and Entei. We jump onto the submarine, aka the one that tried to run us over at the beginning of the game, and we enter. As we make our way through, the pinchers gang up on us with 6 Pokemon that we have to capture at once, and I'll have to say it was a little difficult, mainly because I wanted to catch them all at the same time. We go into the next room and Pichu runs off ahead into another room. We follow and discover some Pokemon are being held in a cage on the sub. We go and find 2 Pokemon to cut down the door and free the Pokemon. One happens to be Ben's partner Pokemon, Staraptor. We finally reach the last room in the submarine and find Blue Eyes once again. This time, she sends a Feraligatr, this being our 4th boss fight. I barely survive with 8 health left, and Blue Eyes gets a mysterious message from who we are assuming is her boss. This results in her activating Plan Z, which stands for Crash the Sub and Pray for the Best. We find the submarine turned vertically, so we have to climb our way out. A ladder falls from the roof, and we climb it to get into the next room. We discover one of the Pichus we set free in the ship earlier dropped a ladder to help us. How nice of him! This part gives us another time limit of 10 minutes to get out of the sub, because water is steadily filling the room. Basically, we have to do a ton of climbing and avoiding angry Pokemon and steam pipes. After some trial and error, we finally reach the end near the hatch and find the pincher standing near a box. They tell us that while debris was falling, Blue Eyes shoved them out of the way and got herself crushed by a box, saving them. And because we are such good Samaritans, we help the pinchers move the box off Blue Eyes, so we all can escape together with the Pokemon trapped on the ship. I low-key could have just left her, but you gotta be nice in these games. As we reach the surface of the water, we find out there's no land nearby at all, and we're stuck. But Murph comes to the rescue on the Union and saves us and the Pokemon. We head back to Rand to give a full report, and we go return the Pichus to Dulce Island. At Dulce Island, the Pichu are so grateful. They do a little dance and a song for us, and it's super cute. Once we get back to Kokona Village, Ralph comes running towards us and gives us a mysterious letter. It was from Blue Eyes. Long story short, Blue Eyes got demoted. She had a change of heart and left the pinchers and gave us a hint to where Red Eyes was going next. So we need to get back to the Union and set sail. Murph takes us to the next area called Faldera Volcano. I guess you could say it's a pretty hot spot. We make our way up the volcano, beating up pinchers, avoiding fire and lava, and we reach the top of the volcano where Red Eyes is trying to take control of Moltres. It was said the hero of Oblivia trapped Moltres here on the mountain. What could be the reason the pinchers wanted it free? Moltres wakes up and flies away. A Charizard breaks Ben Styler, again. He's still really useless. And then we take off on Ben Staraptor to chase the pinchers in the sky. We expertly dodge some plasma balls that were shot at us, circled flying Pokemon aggressively, and finally caught up to Red Eyes. He sends the Charizard after us, this being our 5th boss fight. We shower him in our friendship, but the pinchers zoom off and we go back to Ben and Murph. We head back to Rand to give another full report. We figure out that they must be going to where Articuno is next. We hear from Burkhardt that some sketchy stuff has been going down in a warehouse not too far from Rand's, so we accompany Rand to go check it out. We discover it's another cage full of Staraptors. No wonder we couldn't find any on the islands. So we set them free and capture one so we can head to the next area, Sophian Island. And then we met this weird bird lady. I don't know what her purpose is, but I did talk to her. We head into the Aqua Resort and we are met with a pink-haired lady who goes by the name of Casa. She tells us where the Weaver's house is and he should lead us to where Articuno is. We head in, but there ends up being no one home, so we go outside to look around for him. Then we meet Dr. Edward once again in his travels around Oblivia healing the elderly. While we were talking to him, an elderly man comes running into the resort saying there's a bad omen coming, Suicune is angry, and all that fun stuff. So being a Pokemon Ranger, we go and investigate. As we search the canal ruins, we find the pinchers surrounding Suicune. They try to attack us and get away with Suicune. We chase after them to an underwater area. Ben, of course, stays above ground because he makes us do all the dirty work. As we chase the pinchers underwater, we discover a monument dedicated to Suicune, and the pinchers are stealing the chunk with the symbol on it. We get a message from Ben to head back to the surface and meet up with him, the pinchers, and Suicune. The pinchers cause Suicune to attack us. This is our 6th boss fight so far. With 14 health to spare, I managed to show my feelings of friendship to Suicune, and we learn his symbol. After that, we hear someone crying out for help. It ends up being the man we were looking for, Weber the Weaver. We head back to his house to chat, and he tells us his ancestor was saved by Articuno way back in the day. And then Leanne happens to come in worried about us. And when the Weaver tells us that the Articuno rug is made out of Pokemon fur, naturally, no force was involved in the making. Pichu gets angry and shocks the carpet, and it reveals some ancient writing that Leanne deciphers. It was written by Weber's ancestor, telling the story about how they were saved by Articuno on a snowy mountain. So Mount Sorbet is where we're off to. Outside we see Casa, Hocus, and Arlie at a tea table. Who knew these guys were friends? We chat with them for a bit, and Edward shows up once again. I guess he's friends with them too. We head up to the mountain and find the pinchers. We have an argument with them about avalanches, and then they accidentally cause one and get swept away, so they're definitely dead. Rest in peace. We survive thanks to a stone pillar, so we hide behind those our way up the mountain. We beat up some more pinchers, avoiding falling snow, and find Red Eyes and some pinchers at the top of the mountain. They end up waking Articuno, and Red Eyes sends a Typhlosion. So this is the 7th boss fight. This boss fight took me a couple tries, but I managed to become friends with him. Afterwards, Red Eyes has his pride hurt and decides he's gonna leave the pinchers and had his little sappy moment, but we didn't care. We saved the region. We head back to Rand's, give him a report, and he tells us to meet at Kokona Village for a festival, before we head back to the Ranger Union. It's called the Rainbow Festival, and it's a celebration to reenact what the old hero of Oblivia did with the Rainbow Grail and so forth. So we were chosen to be the hero and have to do a little trial, so when we get back to the stage, raise the Grail, and everyone celebrates, and it's just a happy ending. Or so we thought. We get a message from Earth saying something bad is happening. We head to Rand's house to find him collapsed on the floor, hurt, and he struggles to tell us that Nema and Leanne were captured and taken hostage. It turns out, after Ben's idea with the locator on the Pincher's ship, Nema kept one with her at all times in case anything happened. So that led us to Silver Falls back on Sophian Island. We head that way and enter the falls. After thinking we dissolved the Pinchers, we find more at Silver Falls. Was it Red Eyes that took Leanne and Nema, or was it Blue Eyes? We had to find them. Going through the Oblivia ruins behind the falls, we find steelheads, which was strange because we've only ever seen them in the past. How could they be here? After fighting a bunch of them and going through the ruins, we find out the steelheads are just pinchers and some fancy armor. After circling a ton of Pokemon, we get to the room where Leanne and Nema should be. In this room, we see a new character who goes by the name Purple Eyes. He is the true leader of the pinchers, above Red Eyes and Blue Eyes. Get it? Because red plus blue equals purple? After making Leanne decipher the murals on the wall, Purple Eyes sends a Garchomp, and it was a little tough, but the power of friendship never fails. Purple Eyes escapes to find Zapdos, and with everyone safe-ish, we head back to Rand's. Leanne tells us Purple Eyes just needed her to decipher the murals to find the location of Zapdos, so we head that way too. As we get closer to the island Zapdos is on, there ends up being a ton of thunder and lightning, and the Staraptors get scared and couldn't get close. So we make a pit stop at Tilicule Island and find another monument. It's for Latias, so we go on a little adventure to discover the symbol, and we transcribe that into our styler. And now, we're able to ride Latias into the lightning with no fear. We get to Mount Leuda and head to the top. This time, fighting pinchers and steelheads and avoiding lightning still, we get to the top where Purple Eyes is. We get a lot of strong Pokemon thrown at us, and we end up having to fight a Metagross from Purple Eyes. Now that was tough. It took a couple tries. We end up stopping the pinchers from fully awakening Zapdos, and another figure comes out of the sky on this little silver thingy. And he ends up fully awakening Zapdos. By the way he's talking, makes it seem that he is in charge of Purple Eyes even, a new boss of the pinchers. We head back to the Oblivia ruins following the mystery boss, and find Steelhead's taking Casa into the ruins. Oh no, we must save her. We make our way into the ruins again, and continue further ahead to find another little tea party with Arlie, Hocus, and Casa. Strange. Dr. Edward comes out too, and gets the Steelheads to surround us and Ben. They reintroduce themselves as the Society. Clever, right? Turns out they were all like super bad people when they were younger. They mellowed out a bit when they got old, and now they have a craving for being bad again, so they're just taking over the world. They each put on a piece of gold armor which is said to give the holder immortality and control the Steelheads. They head into the next room in the ruins and it all starts to shake, so we get out of there. We can then see in the sky this giant egg soaring up high in the clouds. Aside from giving immortality, the gold armor allows them to control the Sky Egg Fortress that the evil ruler from the old hero of Oblivia's stories used. The Society used the fortress and sent a giant laser ball into Dulce Island and cause it to completely sink. Thank goodness Booker was creating safety boats for the Pokemon, so they're all okay. The legendary bird Pokemon allowed the Egg Fortress to gain a super powerful shield. That's why they wanted them. We try to ram into it with sheer force, but that obviously didn't work, so we head to Rand's for a plan. Leanne tells us the hero of Oblivia used the real Rainbow Grail on the Rainbow Dais to summon a powerful rainbow to get rid of the shield. While Ben thinks the real Grail is the fake one we used in the festival and makes a fool of himself, Booker shows us where the real trial is so we can get the real thing. We do a couple puzzles, catch an Absol, and receive the true Rainbow Grail. Now the next thing is to find the real Rainbow Dais. So our brains get thinking, and we remember at the beginning of the game, we seen a Rainbow Dais underwater right when the submarine almost ran us over. So we head there with the Grail, we place it down and a rainbow shoots out, and the platform raises into the sky. Ben joins us and Ho-Oh appeared, so of course this is another boss fight, and we circle him with friendship, we expertly draw the symbol, and I truly don't know how it counted, and it's definitely not my best work, but it worked. And Ho-Oh destroys the egg shield, so we're able to get into the fortress. The Society try to hit us out of the sky with some lasers, but we manage to get in. We find our way inside and fight some Steelheads, and then Casa, Arlie, and Hocus all enter different rooms and seal the area where Edwards is. Rand and Nemma show up, which is so helpful because I can charge up my styler now, and I almost died. A lot. We beat each member of the Society, and with the power of friendship and a bad symbol drawing, we enter the room where Edward is. Edward brings out Mewtwo and tells us his grand scheme of immortality, and Rand tries to tell him that the old ruler that used to wear the armor must have got sick of immortality at some point, because how else did Edward have the pieces? And Edward was like, he just wasn't strong enough and didn't care, so he just sent Mewtwo at us. We capture him, and Edward refuses to back down and says if he wore all the gold pieces of armor, there would be no way he'd lose. And at that moment, we hear a new voice. Well, an old new voice. It was Purple Eyes. He came back and popped up out of nowhere. He does his little dramatic pose and shows us that he has all the other gold armor pieces from the other members of the Society. Purple Eyes puts on all of the pieces and claims it chose him as the true ruler. He put on his helmet and Mewtwo comes back to life. He starts to glow purple, fitting since his name is Purple Eyes, and transfers some of his power to Mewtwo. So he also starts glowing purple, which is an actual pain in the butt, which you'll get to see soon. He commands Mewtwo to get rid of Edward, and while Mewtwo is powering up his giant ball, Rand jumps in front of him to save him, and ends up disappearing into the ball with Edward. Rest in peace, Rand. So at this moment, we have to fight a buffed up Mewtwo, and it took me a long time. I died at least 10 times, and with a whopping 6 health left, Mewtwo was mine. Mewtwo goes away, and the gold armor falls off of Purple Eyes and disappears. Since the armor wasn't there to control the fortress, we start falling out of the sky. Again. We get a message from Leanne telling us Ho-Oh is the key to landing safely, so we head to the deck and terribly draw the sign, and Ho-Oh comes to the rescue and saves the day. By some fluke, a purple orb appears beside us and out pops Rand. He's not dead! Yay! And to put the cherry on top, Murph comes in sailing the Union to pick us all up. Now the Oblivia region is saved. For now. There's post-game content and even multiplayer missions with a story about the past. Let me know if you'd like to see those in the future. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I had such a blast replaying this game again, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye!